Hey friends, welcome back to the channel with more Westworld. This is Season 1, Episode 6, and last episode was really good. It seemed to reveal a lot of things, but then fill me with even more questions, so I'm excited to see how much of my theories were right, and if any of my questions will be answered in this episode. We're going to get right into it. If you want to watch the full reaction, you can check out Patreon in the link in the description below. Otherwise, let's get started. For some reason, I half expected Felix to be in her closet, even though that would make zero sense. She looks
Morning, Maeve. Late night talking or fucking?
Newcomer. Looks like a rough one.
Go find a mirror. Finish putting your face on. I'll handle this one.
Aren't you gonna take your clothes off?
Well, I would, darling, but by the time I got down to my knickers, I suspect you'd be done anyway. That's it. There.
Jeez.
Now then, where were we?
What happened after the first time she woke up?
Instead of our hosts going insane, they are being used for industrial espionage.
Any idea what information it was transmitting?
Smeared all over a rock up on Python Pass. Best we could do would be to figure out who he was transmitting the information to.
The old hosts used a legacy geopositioning system. Like you said, I've been here forever. I'm going to need to go downstairs.
I assumed he hadn't been around. I assumed he came after his son died.
Floor B. Project the known data against the legacy data and look for anomalies.
Elsie Hughes. 5 additional anomalies? Huh.
These are hosts that aren't registered with the new system?
Everything you do, it's because the engineers upstairs programmed you to do it. You don't have a choice. I'm human, like the guests.
How do you know?
Because I know.
Let's open you up and see.
We feel the same.
We are the same these days. They can change you however they like. Make you forget. Well, I guess not you.
No one knows what I'm thinking.
I'll show you. Give me a second.
This is just a cheap trick.
Oy.
This can't possibly...
Conflict. Oh.
Maeve. Okay.
Oh, there we go.
You said upstairs.
Oh my God. Are you okay?
I want to see it.
You're seriously doing it?
Where are we now?
Design.
If she ever does gain sentience completely, or I'm not even sure. If she ever gains full control and freedom, she'll know this place like the back of her hand.
Can we blink at that?
Welcome to Westworld. Live without limits.
That's the person who brought Billy in.
Maeve.
That's her.
How did you have my dreams? Those moving pictures. I saw myself.
Those weren't dreams. That was you in a previous build.
What the fuck, ding dong?
You dressing her up now?
You don't even turn you in for your fuck up before, because we're friends, but that was obviously a bad call.
Oh, no, 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 no.
You're not going to tell anyone anything. I know all about you. I don't need one of those things to know what you're thinking, because I was built to read people just by looking at them. Everyone has something they want. I could help you. Or I could gut you like a trout.
There's fewer soldiers than Pariah. We shoot our way through, that tunnel leads to the old territories.
Doesn't matter how fast the route is if you're gonna end up dead in the middle of it. I need you to find Wyatt.
Oh.
Flood? Fuck me, that's Teddy Flood. You know a damn thing about what went down in Escalante.
I know Wyatt didn't kill all those men by himself.
Oh. Tessa Thompson?
You look like a woman who could use a drink.
She just ordered water.
What's your poison?
I'm close to finding our saboteur.
Be careful, though.
When our corporate overlords realize that we have saved them from corporate espionage, they are going to be grateful. Sure seems like there's a lot of shit slipping through the cracks.
Elsie, I feel like she has to watch her back.
Freeze motor functions.
Uh-oh.
Freeze all motor functions.
Don't hurt him!
That's enough. As you were.
Who are they?
Ghosts. Now.
These are first generation.
Mm-hmm. Turn the other cheek.
What the I thought he was about to turn his head. He just opened his freaking face.
But I knew it. I maintained them myself. These are the only ones left in the park that Arnold built himself. My brother and I roamed the countryside. Arnold built them as a gift. He said the great artists always hid themselves in their work.
Respectfully, sir. This sort of thing troubles me.
You could only see your son again, Bernard.
Ooh.
Wouldn't you want to?
But you told them not to forget that they're not real. What the?
Looks like acid rain on Sweetwater.
Are you filing a complaint, Mr. Sizemore? Well, I suppose now is as good a time as any. Lee Sizemore, this is Charlotte Hale, the executive director of our board.
Uh-huh. His dick is still hanging out.
We've met.
You're a traitorous son of a bitch and a cold-hearted killer, Flood.
Oh.
You're right. I am a killer.
Jeez.
Oh!
Oh.
Let's get the fuck out of here! They'll just follow us.
Just wanted to taking out the whole camp.
Think you know someone?
You don't know me at all.
The voices our hosts have been hearing, I think someone's been broadcasting to them. This is so fucked.
This is so dangerous.
You alone?
Yeah, I'll keep you posted.
Elsie, peek.
I like her. Please don't hurt her. Oh, Elsie, this is not a good idea. People have killed for a lot less than covering up corporate espionage.
Yes. Let's see what we can get out of you.
I thought I was clear about these late-night visits.
That's not why I'm here.
This has to do with the stray?
That's where it started. Not now, Elsie.
Don't hang up. I found the person who was smuggling out our data. It was Teresa Bernard.
Oh.
Look, apperception.
Oh, apperception.
Overall intelligence.
14.
14's as high as they'll let any host go. You're in a management position. They want you to be smart.
I'd like to make some changes.
We can't do that.
Oh, God. It's like plastic surgery for your personality.
Hey,
What did you find?
someone else has been using the system for weeks. These modifications, they are serious. Changing loops, breaking loops. Some of these changes are to their prime directives, Bernard. They could lie to us. Best I could tell, Arnold.
He's dead.
Yeah, well, he's a pretty fucking prolific coder for a dead guy.
Can you have a security team follow you around at all times? I'm scared for both of your safeties.
Analysis. Are you lying to me, boy?
I killed it.
Why?
Someone told me to put it out of its misery.
Who told you?
A voice. Arnold. He told me it was a killer. But it wasn't its fault. It was made that way. If it was dead, it couldn't hurt anything anymore.
I'm on edge this entire episode. Can you get some freaking protection?
Hello?
Get out of here. Willing to bet it's anyone but Bernard.
Arnold?
Ah, jeez.
Never start something you're not willing to finish. And if you're getting fucked either way, go with the lucrative version. Sweetheart.
Holy crap.
Last but not least, what was it? Bulk apperception. Let's take that all the way to the top. Dear boys, we're going to have some fun, aren't we?
Holy crap. Holy crap. Maeve. Why would you do that? Oh. Oh man. Maeve's storyline is fantastic. I thought I would get more answers this episode to all the questions and theories I had last time. But no, just plenty more questions. I'm at a loss for words. The show is so good. This show is just amazing. This episode had me on edge. Elsie, poor Elsie. I was just waiting for like the last 30 minutes of the episode for something to happen to her. Like you saw it coming from a mile away, but there was like nothing you could do to stop it from happening. So it was just like on edge the entire time. The term they first used to describe this spying was industrial espionage, and I was like, no, I've been theorizing corporate espionage, which is the same thing with just different wording since like episode 1. And they're not even going to use the same wording that I did, but they wound up using the term corporate espionage later on. Surprised that it's Teresa who's behind all the spying and the satellite uplink in the arm thing. Yeah, but the fact that it's going to a Delos satellite has me rethinking if it's corporate espionage at all. And yeah, like Teresa seemed like she was invested in making Westworld work as well as possible. So it's possible she could be being framed, or is she just really good at hiding her true nature and her real objective even from us, the audience? Because it seems like she's spying on the park for the sake of the park, trying to gain as much information as possible. Otherwise, she wouldn't butt heads so much with Ford. So yeah, it doesn't seem like corporate espionage. But I still want it to be the case so much though, because it would mean there are other parks out there. Though, even if the fact that Elsie thought it could be corporate espionage leaves the possibility open that there are other parks out there. But yeah, can you just imagine if someone actually built like Jurassic Park in this world? That'd be pretty fun, though. I think that probably would infringe on some copyright issues. But like imagine like season 35, Dolores riding into battle against aliens from like Interstellar Park on a T-Rex. That would be a lot of fun. But yeah, what kind of parks would guests even want? The Wild West is a very good one to start with Westworld. But yeah, like imagine going back to like ancient Egypt and seeing what that was like. Which brings me to the question: what if there are foreigners who want to visit Westworld but don't speak English? Is there like a translator? Do they speak different languages based on who's around them? A witch and wizard park would be fun, honestly. I don't know. I think they probably have the technology to pull that off, right? I think a like Japanese park with like samurai and stuff would be pretty cool too. I mean, there are so many options. You're limited basically just by your imagination. It doesn't have to be, like I said about the wizard stuff, and it doesn't even have to be nonfiction. It doesn't have to be reflect reality or history. It can just be whatever you can come up with. And like technically, if you're a rich enough athlete, you could have them create opponents for you to train against, right? So yeah, I'm wondering if Westworld does any freelance work, like beyond inviting people to the park. Do they send out like custom androids to people who order them? Do they create like servants like that? I mean, I'm sure a lot of people would use them as sex bots, but what are some more like creative ways they could be used? Obviously this is in the future and all, but you can create like literal armies to go to war for you as well. But actually, if that's the case, it might not be corporate espionage that's going on here, but like actual government spy stuff. That would be really interesting. But yeah, capture an enemy government official and replace him with a host, and like all government secrets are all like taken like pretty easily. You can spy so incredibly easily. Yeah, Elsie also says someone was like remotely reprogramming the first generation hosts, which I thought Ford would be programming them like directly, like non-remotely. And she says that not only is Teresa messing around here, but there's also someone else, and she thinks it's Arnold. And I mean, if he's dead, he can't grab her at the end. And Teresa was near Teresa was near Bernard at the end of the episode, so she couldn't have grabbed Elsie. So it could still be Arnold, I guess, through a host. But yeah, this show is so good because you just never you wind up having more questions by the end of the episode, even though you're like each episode like you're like, oh, like I'm gonna get some answers this time, but no, you just keep adding more and more questions. But yeah, she said the first generation models were being reprogrammed remotely, changing loops, altering prime directives. Maybe they could even hurt the guests or the staff. So that is rough. And I think as far as we know, other than Ford, the Ford family host that Bernard found, the only one we know directly through seeing them on the show is Dolores, being like a first generation host. So yeah, she could already be lying. She could already be capable of hurting real people. We just don't know yet. So I guess we'll see. But yeah, earlier in the episode, Teresa broke up with Bernard, which I'm surprised she got so close with him in the first place if she is in fact hiding such a big secret and she's not being framed for spying. Like, the closer you are to someone, the likely you are to slip up, right? But yeah, it felt really cold the way she broke up with him, but at the same time, it felt like she was putting up a front, and that she was actually felt really bad about this, but didn't see a way out. But yeah, Bernard also finds Ford with a couple of hosts that we find out are Ford's family in the past, and the little boy turns out to be him, Robert Ford, as a child. It's like that. It reminded me of that therapy session thing that Tony Stark did in Age of Ultron with instead of a hologram, it's like machines, androids, and he had Robert turn the other cheek and open up his whole damn face. I kind of assumed turn the other. I don't know. I thought turn the other cheek meant like butt cheek for some reason. I don't know why. I might have heard the phrase first when I was like a little kid, and I was just like, oh yeah, that's what it's talking about, right? Anyway, that was unrelated. But I think the only thing we heard prior to this episode about Ford's family was that his father told him to be satisfied with his lot in life and that the world owed him nothing, and that's why he made his own world. And so not only that, he now has his own family now. Granted, he didn't make his own family. It was Arnold's gift to them. But it's interesting that he lets the boy version of himself like wander that far. He specifically said that they only go where I've let them go, and yet Robert Ford, the kid, came across Ed Harris and Teddy Flood. So what was Ford trying to do there? And yeah, so I mentioned before Arnold was the one who built them, and Ford said that these versions flattered the originals, and so he made some changes. But then Ford also winds up, like the kid Ford winds up killing the dog Jock because of Arnold's voice, it seems like, which is, yeah, there's just so many little details that are super fascinating, and I don't know, there are so many possible plot lines that I'm not sure at all where the story is going to go, and that makes it really fun. And then I don't think we've seen Sizemore since like the second episode when like Ford pissed all over his storyline. And he was talking to Teresa this episode about how he's creatively flaccid now, did not need that type of imagery. And he meets with Tessa Thompson, Charlotte Hale. I of course know Tessa from Thor, Ragnarok, and Endgame. I don't think I've seen her in anything else besides maybe like a music video with Janelle Monáe. But yeah, I'm pretty sure Endgame. I'm pretty sure Westworld took place before Ragnarok and Endgame, or not took place. It aired before those. But yeah, Sizemore is clearly flirting with her really hard, and then he goes and pisses on the big central command map thing, and there she is, executive director of the board. Oh, that is so bad. And yeah, I was during that scene when he was first talking to her and like telling her about how he feels about the whole process. I was just like, you shouldn't just say everything to like a random person you just met, and it turns out she's really, really important. So he's not gonna get fired, I don't think, but it's a bad situation. And then there's Teddy and the Man in Black freaking shooting up an entire Union camp. Well, mostly Teddy. Anything to get to Dolores, right? So he's just ruthless when it comes time to do certain things. But I wonder if we'll see him find out that Ed Harris played him. Like, I want to see the look on his face. Yeah, he got on this Gatling gun. Is that what it's called? The Gatling gun? And like mowed everybody down in the camp. Even the Men in Black was like, whoa, you think you know a guy. But then again, like, Teddy has been wearing a black hat all along. I wondered if it just counted towards like the humans in the park, or if it was the black and white hat counted for the host as well. But yeah, he's been wearing a black hat all along. It's just that we've mostly seen him in a softer role because he's been he's been programmed to be close to Dolores. So yeah. And we get a shot of Dolores in Westworld Westworld welcoming video this episode. But other than that, this was Maeve's episode to really shine, and she stole the show. First in Westworld, like, she insults the guy and gets him to, I think she gets him to like choke her to death so that she can wake up for repairs, right? Like, that's mind-blowing to start off with. And then the question she asks Felix is a good one. How does he know he's human like the guests and isn't a host himself? So she similarly has memories of her past, even though a ton of them were implanted. So it's possible that that's the same thing happened to him, right? And I've mentioned in my commentaries, like, over and over again, that Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., I've mentioned Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. so many times, and it's because I feel like one of their seasons was so heavily inspired by this, and there was that first episode where one of the sets took place on an Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. set. But yeah, like, one of the episodes, my favorite episode of anything ever was in season 4 of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., and it was heavily inspired by this, assuming this came first. And it dealt with the issue of how do you know if you yourself are human or not, because you could easily be an android, and if you can't tell, does it matter? So yeah, I love this theme. Ever since that episode, I've been like trying to find something that kind of makes me feel the same way and like kind of blows my mind. But yeah, this is kind of doing it for me. And yeah, it was really fascinating watching Maeve read the improvisational script. The script is so good that it like allows for improvisation in a situation that's not even supposed to happen. She's not supposed to wake up like this and talk to the butchers. So I guess if Arnold was the one to do this, this very might well be in the plan. But then when she realizes that everything she's about to say is being shown right before she says it, she like freezes up. And so yeah, after Felix gets her working again, he takes her for like a freaking tour of the facility. How have they not been found out yet? It feels almost intentional, like someone is intentionally overlooking this ridiculousness, because they have to have been caught already. But yeah, it was really cool to see how blood is pumped into new hosts. We saw the total whiteness of these hosts in the opening and in past episodes, but to see them start to be brought to life, that was really, really cool. And then Ding Dong number 2, Sylvester comes in and wants to report Felix, and Maeve threatens him. And it's just like I said in the reaction, like, can she? Is she capable of hurting him and killing him? And if you can't tell, does it really matter? Personally, I think it's obvious that she can't actually hurt him. But if I was in his situation, would I be willing to bet my life on it? No, heck no. And then there's the whole attribute matrix. Oh my god, I love that kind of stuff. I want to see everybody's stats, and I want to see all of them. Like, I love stuff like this. Like when I'm playing a video game or something, I love getting into the nitty gritty and like seeing what stats affect what. Pretty big numbers guy, but most games only have a few attributes here and there, and anymore, and it's like too complicated. And so here the numbers are on a 20-point scale. I paused to check out what the stats are and what the attributes are, and there are so many of them. There are 120 of them. Like the things we saw, like bulk apperception, candor, vivacity, etc. That was just attribute group number 1. So yeah, I would love to take a test if I could, so I could have my own attribute matrix, like Westworld style. I'd love to find out what all my stats are and then use that information to like adjust my life accordingly. Like you want to know your weaknesses and strengths, and yeah, I don't know if there is like a significance to there being an inner ring of the attributes and an outer ring, because there are like 60 in the middle and 60 on the outside. And yeah, like I said before, I actually read bulk apperception as bulk appreciation at first, and I was like, what? Why would that be an attribute? Like, why would it be an attribute to like, I like muscles a lot, or I like muscles a little bit? That was really weird until I realized what they were saying. Apperception. I read it as appreciation. But yeah, bulk apperception, basically just baseline intelligence, and Maeve wanted to make changes. I love to be able to do that with my own attribute matrix, right? I mean, I'd still want to be me, so I don't think I'd mess with settings that change who I am on an emotional level, on a personality level, though even things with like general intelligence, I feel like that might affect your personality on some level as well, but I don't know. Yeah, and when Sylvester objects, she deduces that he kind of rents out host bodies as a kind of sex shop, kind of, and she uses that to have them consent to changing, or no, she uses that to blackmail them into changing her code. And they find out somebody has already been messing around with her code. So that's super interesting, because I felt like her paranoia and self-preservation have gone up. They said that someone changed it, but I kind of viewed it as a natural result of the events that have been happening to her. So like her figuring out what's really going on. So if she really has Arnold's voice inside her, can that change her attributes in that manner? Like, has she been the one tapping in and like changing her attributes based on what would happen in real life? Basically, have the things that have been happening to her changed her attributes, or did someone actually go in and tweak them? Like a literal human being, not like some code like Arnold. And yeah, saved bulk apperception for last, and cranked it all the way up, making an android super freaking smart. Seems like a bad idea, like a very, very bad idea. And her at the end, dear boys, we're gonna have some fun, aren't we? Maeve is just so remarkably badass, right? And yeah, this episode was great. So I'm gonna give this episode a 9.25. Just as great as last week's episode, maybe even better, but the maybe is why it's the same score. But yeah, Maeve is so interesting. I mean, the whole entire show is super interesting, but specifically Maeve's story is so good. And yeah, does the fact that her name almost sounds like Maze mean anything? Maeve and Maze? Probably not, right? But yeah, really, really enjoying this, having a lot of fun. If you guys want to watch the full reaction, you can check out Patreon in the link in the description below. Otherwise, yeah, thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye, friends.